Instagram.
Commence primary ignition.
Hi, I'm Juan Davis, ILM model maker, and you're watching the Virtual Cantina.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to another week of the Virtual Cantina Watch Along. We're here. Hello there. Absolutely. We are on the march to Star Wars Celebration Japan, which is in a little over a month from right now. 1 month from today, I'll actually be landing in Japan, which, ridiculous.
And boy, are
Anyway,
your arms tired.
Yeah.
I'll be in the air at this time.
I'll already be there.
Damn it.
Well, we're on the march for Andor Season 2, so we're doing a nice rewatch of Season 1 right now to recap. But before that, first running Chewy tonight is Dave. How are you, sir?
Hello there. Yes, I am doing very well
And
this
Coach
evening.
Chewy? Good.
It's
And
Jave
Coach
and
Chewy?
Def over here.
Dave, Jeff,
Dave,
Jeff,
yes.
Dave, Def.
Yes. So we're very excited about watching this, and as we've been mentioned, we've been having a lot of guests join us to watch along with this. But also, we've been talking a lot about autographs, especially with celebrating autographs coming up. And our special guest tonight is a good friend of mine I've known for a really long time. He is probably one of the best co-signing companies in the world, quite honestly, from Twin Cities Comics, Torrey Quella. Torrey, how are you?
Well, I'm feeling naked. I don't have a hat like the rest of you guys.
Some of us match. I just
Yeah,
got
nobody told me. I didn't know that there was a dress code.
Yeah, well, you get the memo. But how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Just like you said, we got a little less than a month away when I'll be on a plane heading over there. So a lot of prep work to do to get over to Japan yet.
So we're all very excited about that. And if you have any questions for Torrey, as we're going to talk about consignments and send-ins for Celebration and for the not. So, Dave, how would you ask questions online?
I would say, could you do the thing with the stuff and then put a question mark behind it? But no,
That's a
is
good way.
make sure that you can ask questions in any of our social media. You can go right there and you can visit StreamYard.com/Facebook to connect your Facebook account if you're on the Facebook. But if you're over on Insta, or if we'll try and monitor that. Jeff's got, we're taking a look there. We don't always get that. But if you type questions in your YouTube, or if you type questions in the Facebook, they'll pop up on our screen, and we'll share them right here for you. And we'll try and pass them along.
Cool. So let's jump into a couple of things, and then we'll start with a couple of questions. Don't forget that our event, the Not So Virtual Cantina Special Edition, is the night before Star Wars Celebration in Japan at the Hub Makahari, or Kalama Makahari. I can't pronounce that.
Matahari? Where?
Yes.
Matahari?
Kayamakuhari. Yep.
Yes. What he
It's going
said.
to take a bit to get used to that.
Literally completely sold out. Yes, we sold out all of our major tickets on the first of the year, but we're very excited to announce that we are going to offer a hyperspace ticket, which basically means is that if you're lined up outside of the hub between the hours of 7 and 9, as people leave, we're going to take their bracelet, one man in, one man out, vice versa. So right there alone, you have an opportunity to come in, get some autographs, some meet and greets, have a couple of drinks. You just won't be getting the swag bag or the buffet dinner, but you can buy some swag or merchandise from our merch stand, as well as some food off the menu. So we're very excited about that. But we are very excited because we have some great guests coming to us that are exclusive to the Not So Virtual Cantina.
Show the hyperspace ticket.
Dave, let's show some of our guests.
All right. Well, let's take a look at where we're starting right here.
Bradley Galley, who is involved in The Mandalorian and also in Skeleton Crew.
Excellent.
His wife, Christine, who is R2-D2 and R5 in the Filoniverse, is also a Jawa. Chris Parsons, you might know him as Forlom, but he's also played C-3PO in a couple of scenes, as well as the white protocol droid from Empire Strikes Back.
Oh wow!
Nobody
This
likes
is my
that.
fave. This is my non-Star Wars
Hey, there he is.
fandom fave. Vaughn Davis, the creator of Mouser Mecha Catbot.
Yeah, BattleBots is amazing.
By the way, Tori, that photo that you guys found was awesome.
We try.
Yeah, that was great. But Fawn's a great guest. We had him in California as well.
At the intro.
Dave Santana. Dave Santana is a stormtrooper as well as a sand trooper in the Disney era movies. He's also involved with Andor. And also, if you've seen that picture of all the stormtroopers hanging outside Canary Wharf during Rogue One, Dave is the one who is drinking a bottle of water in between takes. And here's something that's very interesting. This is his last ever signing. He is retiring from signings after our show. So if you want to get Dave, it's the last opportunity to do this.
Don't miss it.
Drag those stormtrooper buckets in your carry-ons, people.
Yes.
Dump them
So
in there.
if you're a completionist, which a lot of people are these days, you're going to want to get Dave.
Nice.
So talking, of course, how can I forget? Maria Sandoval. Maria was a guest of ours at the Not So Virtual Cantina. Sorry, at the Bunta Eve at Scum and Villainy. She's also the mother of Speedy, that land speeder that went viral during Ahsoka, but also the hairstylist for the entire Filoniverse, including the movie, which is great.
That's
We're
awesome.
very excited to have Maria back over with us again. She's a good friend of the group's. She's going to be on Skywalking Through Neverland at the end of this week. So take a look at that episode. So it's going to be really cool.
And speaking of friends of the group,
Marty Matulis. Marty, who made his signing debut for us in London. We were his first signing. He's Vane, the pirate from The Mandalorian, as well as Skeleton Crew, but you could see him in a lot of different horror movies, in some Star Trek, and even in Studio 666, which is the Foo Fighters movie.
Nice.
excellent. And of course, the Not So Virtual Cantina is brought to you by
Hyperspace Props. Use the code NSVCSE for 10% off your entire purchase. They will be running Sabak at our event, so you can come in and play a little Sabak while you're getting your autographs or doing some karaoke at the Not So Virtual Cantina. We're very excited for Hyperspace Props to be joining us once again at one of our events.
their Sabak dice are like amazingly. They have them here on my desk, and they're just heavy, and they feel very nice.
They
in
look
the hand.
substantial.
They really are. They are substantial. They are weighty.
So a little known fact, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Maria Sandoval, she actually was a hairstylist for some of the Star Trek stuff as well. Do you guys know that, right?
Wow.
We have that right here on our poster.
Well, the reason I say that is because she did Jean-Luc Picard's, and she's going to be doing mine at the event.
There you go.
Was that joke said by somebody? Did someone say that joke like 2 weeks ago too? That was Jean-Luc Picard.
Did somebody? Sorry.
So what does she do? Get out the
to steal a joke.
She gets out the buffer or something, and
Right.
as opposed to the scissors.
A fine chamois.
There you go.
Yes.
Perfect.
So let's get into some conversations about the consignment. Now, Torrey, how did you get involved in the industry? Because it's an interesting industry to get involved in.
Long story short is, the reason my company's called Twin Cities Comics is that I started.
One of these days, there we go. Sorry.
And when I started doing comic books, I was just selling comic books as a kind of a side gig. And I got to do a lot of signings with people like Stan Lee and a lot of the artists. I was one of the first facilitators through CGC, which is a company that grades and does signings with different people for comic books. And once that kind of happened, it just kind of took off where people are like, oh, I see you're signing with this person at a convention. Can I send something else with you? So it kind of evolved from there, from, not just comic book creators, but I think the very first comic book that I got signed by a person was an Arrow #1 with Stephen Amell. And then from there, started with the Star Trek, Star Wars, you name it. And then people started asking about posters and stuff. So I never went into this with the idea that it was going to be a full-time business. It's just something that I had a lot of fun doing. And I kind of, got my convention gig there. And if you would have told my 13-year-old self that this is the company that I would have, meeting Stan Lee, meeting the original Star Wars actors and stuff, I never would have believed you. I mean, and to this day, I just had my reunion for high school, and people are like, can you explain to me what you do exactly? You see pictures with you with Harrison Ford and all these people. What do you do? So it's still a relatively unknown thing, unless you're a big time signature collector. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
So if you're starting with comics, can you tell me, you're talking about the bigs, any adventures with my man right there, Larry Hama?
I've got my own personal collection, I think 5 or 6 original sketches from Larry. Nice. And what I did is I would always get a sketch of a character that I knew I was going to be seeing that voice actor later. So I've got 1 or 2 Destros. I've got a Lady J. I've got some Hawks and Dukes and everything. So
nice.
Yeah. Love G.I. Joe.
Perfect.
Well, it's funny you should mention Harrison Ford, because I still credit to you. I've looked up on my wall my Regal Robot plaque that you had signed by Harrison, one of the last signings, which that's the staple of my collection. So I still, I praise you for that. So thank you very much for helping me with that one.
You're very welcome.
So you're going to be handling send-ins alongside with official picks for Star Wars Celebration, as well as the Not So Virtual Cantina. If someone has never done a signing before, a co-signment, what would you recommend is the right way to go about, like, because obviously, a lot of people put a lot of time and effort in send-ins in particular. I know you have, by the way, he's got some great shots of all of our guests and Celebration guests up on his page if you want to do like table shots. But like if someone wanted to do a send-in, like how would you handle somebody who's doing this for like the first time and is nervous about saying their piece that might have like, 100 con signatures on there, or, just saying something off for the first time?
Yeah, it's daunting the first time you ever do something like that. Speaking of those type of deals, is when we had the last signing with Harrison Ford, we had people send in posters that they probably started getting signatures in the mid 80s and could have 100 people on there. So the first thing is, if you're going to be sending in something very valuable, the first thing I say is make sure your item is insured. We do not have a lot of stuff get lost in the mail, but stuff can happen. We all know that. The second thing I would tell somebody is, if it's expensive, don't go cheap on shipping. Don't send something ground if it's an expensive piece. Pay a little bit extra, do it overnight, because you're going to be less likely of something getting lost if it's an overnight or at least a 2-day air. The other thing I would say is, everybody knows their own area, and I can say, maybe UPS in my area is better. Maybe FedEx in your area is better. You guys should know that. It doesn't matter how you want to send it, USPS, FedEx, UPS. Just know your own, area. If you know your carriers, that's even better. The second thing I'll say is, the more you put into protecting your item when you're shipping it, the better. Do not think that somebody can't, bang up your item. One of the things I say about people, especially with posters, is if you take a regular tube and you think that can go through the mail, you're sadly mistaken. If you take a tube and you can press on it and it gives it all, it's going to get dinged. Yeah, all you have to do is take that and bang it against something with a little bit of an edge.
Give it a nice divot.
Yeah, and everybody's opened a poster and it's line after line after line. So if it's an expensive item, go to your local hardware store, get a PVC pipe, have them cut it down to about 32 inches. You can get caps for those. That way that thing is indestructible. And then you can put that inside of a box. If you're going to do that, the other thing that I always suggest is have the label printed twice if you can. Put the label on the inside tube and on the box. Because if that box opens up, it's still on the tube. So
that's
yep,
very, very wise.
Yeah.
So how would you, as somebody who's facilitating this, you're going international. You know, it's not like you're coming up for Rhode Island Comic-Con, which I see you at every year. You know, you're going to Japan. You're probably going to have hundreds of items. How are you handling that? You know, I know you sometimes when you have larger items, you're shipping ahead, but you're not shipping ahead for Japan. Like, how are you prepping for con?
So the one hard part about this one is that, like, I've got people that want to send in shields for Oscar Isaacs, and I'm just like, it's not possible for this one. When we do stuff in London, I have people that I know personally in London that I could have somebody send something to, and then we can pick it up. Don't have that luxury in Japan. So the large items are a little bit, difficult, and that's why I said, hey, contacts beforehand. And as soon as he was announced, people were asking, hey, can I send in my shield? And I had to say no. We have specialty Pelican cases that we got that basically will fit anything up to a 16 by 20 that are virtually bomb proof. And that's what we travel with. Anybody's posters and everything, none of that gets checked in. I've got this massive poster tube that can basically fit about 190 posters in it.
Oh, damn.
And I have 2 of them. So like I've done signings where we've had 200 plus posters and I have to bring both of them. So
what is that? Like one of those concrete form tube things? Like
it's at my office. I could show you, but it's basically about 8 inches around. I think it's 8. And it's got a very thick cardboard tube or corrugated tube on the inside. What we can do is we can actually put 4 3-inch tubes inside of that. And then if you have somebody that's sending in like a rolled canvas, those you can just put inside of them because they don't have to be protected in the same way. So we can do that. And I've got somebody coming over there with me. So realistically, if I needed to, I could carry on 400, posters. So
wow,
that's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you're traveling like a roadie for a band with like the big road cases or something, and it sounds like it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, these Pelican cases are like 17 by 22, and they're 18 inches deep or more. On my bigger signings, I'll go with 3 of those myself, and then I have somebody else, and they'll have 3 of those, and it's a lot of hauling. So that's why I go to the gym so that I can lug everybody's stuff around and lift all of it.
There you go. So looking at numbers right now, because I know you're closing up in the next week or 2, correct? On your scheduling.
I honestly don't remember. I think we're taking orders through the end of the month, like the 20 something, somewhere in there. We have to have items by the first week of April. I'm actually going to be at AwesomeCon that first week in April, and as soon as I get back from there, a couple of days later is when we leave. So what we always do is we always build in 2 or 3 extra days. So if I tell you that the cutoff is March 1st, realistically, the last day to get something is probably March 4th. And the reason we do that is because if your thing gets hung up for a day or 2, we want to make sure there's a little bit extra time there. But
your website is saying that items must be received in your office by April 8th.
Right.
Orders cut off around April 4th.
Correct. Yep. So first part of April. Yeah. I have 2 full-time employees. So while I'm at AwesomeCon, they'll be making sure that stuff is still getting opened up and processed.
That's great. Cool. So looking at this particular show in preparation, how many items do you think that you are bringing over for Japan, like projection-wise?
Hundreds. No idea exactly though.
Yeah.
One of the things that is changed about the industry is a lot of people wait to order until the very last minute. I think part of that is just because everybody's worried. I don't want to send something, have a guest cancel, pay to have it shipped there, then have to have my item shipped back.
That makes sense.
We all know that there are
I
conventions.
mean, it's not like it's Rhode Island. It's not like it's Rhode Island Comic Con. They're not going to cancel. No, I'm kidding.
I did not say that, you did, but no, yeah. That's the thing is this is different than a regular convention, but at the same time, you know, there could be cancellations, but people have that mentality right now. So there are times where I'll be going into a signing and we might have 100 items, and then once we put out last call, you have 200 by the end of that next week. So realistically, I have no idea. The first time I did a celebration was Anaheim in 2015. I had close to 1,000 items at that one. So, I mean, this one's going to be different because that one was one of the first times that we had done all of the main OG Star Wars cast. So it was different, but I mean, there's going to be a lot for some of these guests. So, yeah.
Would you say like an Oscar and a Diego, who are barely on the con circuit, are some of your sellers?
Oscar is, because he's only done the one convention. We actually just signed with Diego Luna at Superhero Con. Was it last year or the year before? I can't even remember. It was last year.
It was in 24. Is
so it was last year. Yeah, for me, everything kind of runs together. I apologize, but he's still doing very well. The price point on this one is actually a lot better too, which I think has helped sales because he was a little bit higher priced at that convention. This one, he's actually a little bit less, and people are like, "Oh wow, I might take part in that one this time."
It's interesting when you say that, because the funny thing about that was that people did say that initially, even with celebration tax.
Correct.
They're saying it's cheaper. It's like, you know, we always say, it's like, I mean, I always tout, you know, if you're going to Celebration, if there's someone you absolutely need to get them. But if they're on the regular con circuit, wait. Just get the people that you absolutely need because of Celebration tax. But if he's cheaper than Texas with Celebration tax, then why not? You
can't pass this up. Yeah. And it could have been the convention just priced him differently. It could have been who brought him in. I don't know the reasons for the different pricing, but yeah, this is one that I think that a lot of people are going to get that may not have gotten him last time.
Nice.
So we're going to be watching, obviously, Andor season 1, episode 8. When Andor originally aired, what was your impression?
I did not think that there was going to be an Andor, you know, to begin with. When they announced that, I was like, isn't everybody dead? So I was actually quite surprised, you know. Of course, they could, you know, but I'll tell you one thing. The one thing that I really like about Andor is the fact that Andy Serkis is in it. And the reason I say that is because I've gotten to know Andy pretty well over the course of the years. And it's just like anytime you see him, you know you're going to get something good out of him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know of another actor today that's as versatile as him. So when I see him, it's just, you never know what you're going to get. So he's probably my favorite character in Andor. So
yeah, before I left work today, I happened upon a Graham Norton episode clip, and it was Andy, and he was going to introduce the musical guest for the show. I can't remember who the young lady was, but he was like right into Gollum doing his thing.
Yep.
And you know, the way that Gollum has that multiple personality thing, he's right into, you know,
yes,
I love this precious. Yeah, exactly, that whole thing. And then of course he was not Gollum at the same time, or he was using words that, you know, Gollum wouldn't use. It made it extra funny. It was a great little clip to you know, showcase exactly what Andy is, which is amazing. So yeah.
I think it's nice because the Disney Plus has allowed stuff to happen so that we have a bigger universe. Because realistically, you know, the TV shows help fill in gaps. And it's been great. It's
invaluable ultimately at this point. It's the best way for them to fill in all the sort of minutia, the nuances, the little things that you wouldn't think about or maybe do think about, we're a little bit more than the average viewer in this group, I think. But, when you can get that background information on those characters, it makes it so much more rich. It's more a cohesive kind of combination of things. And I love when they fill in those little gaps and talk about this character here and that character there, or this planet or whatever. Whenever they do the callbacks, I'm all about it.
Well, I've got to say that my one moment of like, I can't believe I'm calling myself a fan is I had never watched the Clone Wars. So I had not watched Clone Wars, and everybody kept telling me, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. It's some of the best stuff out there. And I was sitting in front of Ashley Eckstein. And she said something about what your favorite episode was. I said, Ashley, I've never watched it.
That's a bad place to drop that one.
So anyways, I binged it, and I told her, I said, the next time you see me, we'll have watched it all. Sure enough, I did. And I sat down, I said, Ashley, you were right. Some of the best Star Wars scripted stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When that show started out.
You out there.
Go ahead.
Clone Wars Revisited with Mark, Ashley, and Skip.
Our Monday show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every Monday night. Join us.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. No.
But it's interesting because we talk about this all the time. We had 16 years of nothing, literally nothing between Jedi and Phantom Menace. We just had the books, and that held us over. But now, we never have to wait again. People are spoiled beyond belief. Star Wars is going to go on for as long as Disney wants Star Wars to go on.
The fact that you can expect a regular thing of Star Wars at any point now is just, gravy. It's all about we were so starved at one point that this is just, you can't, I can't understand the amount of backlash certain things get just from the fact that we get all this stuff.
I remember in 1997 when the Power of the Force figures started coming out, and it's like, 95. It just, every time there's something new, you have that resurgence, so. And
I spent a lot of time in Toys R Us, KB Toys back in the 90s. Walmarts on occasion. We don't have a lot here in Southern California, so they were few and far between, especially then. Any kind of toy aisle I happened upon, the first thing I would look for is a Star Wars carded figure, and it was a weird kind of renaissance, like you said. Since we don't have Walmarts that, back in the day, they were like 24 hours and people would show up in the middle of the night as they were stocking.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
I had to do the holiday Toys R Us thing was my thing. So around Christmas, Toys R Us would be open till midnight, and it'd be like 11:30. I'm there to see what they're putting out on the shelf, and I'd find a box on the cart still that hadn't been dealt with, and I'm like, hovering around it, waiting for them to, open it up and be like something, trying to find like a chat that I knew, like a bulletin board, not Discord or whatever, but like the old school like kind of information area, and it'd be like, which number on the box do I need to look for that figure?
That was during the AOL days, right? The AOL chat.
Jeff was checking Zork to find out what the Star Wars.
Zork, I was playing Zork as I was checking for Star Wars figures. No, but that was an interesting time for sure.
So we'll continue this conversation. We're about to start the episode, so please make sure you have your Disney Plus machines all queued up. Yes, dial up. Skip is still on dial up in Nashville.
Skip was on dial up for a while.
Yeah, he actually did the dial up thing.
96 quad, man. When you get 9600, you must have been rich, right?
That was high end. I was happy that I went from 14 to 28 at one point, but
the part I once got caught once. Someone said to me, "Hey Spencer, what's a Roman numeral for the number 10?" Oh, X. Oh, that means X not the room.
Yeah, old school chats. That's the best.
But anyway, let's do 10-second countdown, and we'll continue the conversation.
Yes, so we're going to hit that 10-second countdown. Once that gets down to the beginning or to the 0-ish, it'll say play. You can hit the play button, and here we go.
Da-da-da.
No skipping.
No skipping.
No
Watch
skipping.
everything.
Unless you're
Sherry
skip.
has a question over in the chat. It's like, how about Rebels? Did you ever watch Star Wars Rebels and not Clone Wars, or have you ever watched Rebels up until now?
I did. I watched Clone Wars first. What I actually did is after I watched Clone Wars, I started from that point and I started rewatching everything.
Nice.
And then something that I just did this year is that when the Acolyte came out, I actually went back and watched the Acolyte, and I watched everything through because I had time while I was, doing some stuff. So I watched a lot of it again. And every time you watch something, you miss something. So it's always nice to revisit. Especially
rewatches.
Watching Andor, so that you have a little bit of a better memory. So when season 2 comes out, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Well, that's what this is all about. But those rewatches are always like your attention changes, so you're looking at things that you may not have seen the first time, which is just like adds to the amazingness of these shows. So one question I have about the Clone Wars, did you watch the micro series?
No.
Oh my goodness. They're going to watch the micro series on our show, the Clone Wars Revisited, so you might want to catch up with that on there. The micro series was amazing. It was 3 minutes a week.
Yep.
That was like the most littlest amount that could give you in terms of waiting week to week.
They were TikTok before TikTok was
basically, but they weren't good content providers with 3 minutes a week.
Right.
At least.
So this is obviously, we like to call it. It's the era of the geek, because everything that we liked when we were kids is cool again, which we knew it was cool back 20, 30 years ago, but now it's like mainstream pop culture. The whole philosophy of conventions. I mean, first convention we always think about is obviously comic books, and then obviously the Trek conventions, because everybody would talk about the
Trek conventions. That was the thing, right?
Right, exactly. But now it's like, you had ABC Con, or whatever going on right now. It's really interesting how this has become a multi-million-dollar business, and that, but also the opportunity for us to see people we grew up with watching. Look, C2E2, it's Carson Dave right now, but then Emilio's doing his first con with the rest of the Breakfast Club.
That's pretty cool.
I know.
And unfortunately, it's on Saturday is when that starts, and I'll already. If it would have been Friday, I would have gone down there, gotten the photo with everybody, and then got on a plane to Japan from there. But
there isn't.
I know Daryl's up there. Is he going there, or is he going with you direct?
Daryl's going with me direct. Yeah.
Okay, because I know he's based in Chicago, so that's why I was asking on that.
Yeah. Yep.
I know that
we have a member.
I was just going to say the same thing.
We have a member that's going to do the craziness. They're going to head out, fly into Chicago, go that weekend to that con, and then get on their plane to Tokyo.
If you can, you might as well, because
more power to you.
That this is probably going to be Emilio's only ever convention. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because you never do know. But hey.
Oh, well, but it's their opportunity in 1 week span. They can get Boyega, get on a plane, and go get Oscar next weekend. Cool.
Yep. Yeah, we've got stuff that we're doing. We're going to be doing Oscar. Boyega is going to be at Fan Expo Dallas. And then we've got a Daisy Ridley signing that's going to be in the summer. So we basically can get all three of the people.
Very cool.
What's very interesting is that now Boyega did that one awesome con, then went on like a couple-year hiatus, and now he signed an Informa contract because he was announced for Calgary Expo, Denver. Like he's doing. I would not be surprised if he's not doing Boston, because once you sign like a contract with Informa, you kind of get the circuit at that point. So it's very interesting to see that he's out there now. But I think it's also at the same time is that people are realizing they can walk home with thousands of dollars in cash for a 3-day span. like it's almost a no-brainer if you can handle it.
It's definitely an alternative income for a lot of people that aren't getting the same kind of things that they may have in the past.
I would like to obviously see more.
Well, the funny thing about conventions is that it used to be a stigma that you didn't sign at conventions until your career was over.
Yeah, it was like the end of life thing right now. Now it's different.
Yeah, and what really I think changed that was the mid 2000s with, you had Star Wars coming out, you had Marvel coming out, you had all of the DC TV shows on CW, and you started to get some of those names that were going to conventions. And then it only took, one of the bigger names to do one of these and be like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I can meet fans. I can, I can earn some money and stuff. So now that stigma, I think, there's still maybe a couple people that believe that, but most people realize that, A-listers can do this stuff now. And it's a good way to meet fans if they want to do that and make a little bit extra money. So
yeah, that's one thing I've noticed from a lot of the newer to the kind of signing world, and especially the bigger stars, that their connection to the fans is what keeps them coming back.
Right.
At least that's what they say. I can take them at face value. That's fine. But that kind of connection they haven't really had, being sort of sheltered maybe from that because of how big of a star they are or something. They didn't have that kind of grassroots, ground level kind of.
It gives them it gives them a safe space to do it.
Exactly.
People aren't coming up to them while they're having dinner with their family in a restaurant in California.
So that's where I am. I'm in California, and that's been, I've lived around stars my entire life, and the whole "do I want to bother them" thing is definitely always in the forefront. Yep. So, and I've regretted, noticing somebody in public and then setting the wolves to them ultimately as I walked away after I got a photo or an autograph, and all of a sudden everybody else noticed. All of a sudden they didn't care until I was the one that confirmed that was somebody, and then all of a sudden it was a thing. But I'll be right back. Sorry about that.
Okay. Well, yeah, but so one of the things I find hilarious, especially with obviously how accessible people are, is unfortunately the negative or the positivity of the internet when people get announced for certain properties or anything of that nature. Dave, why don't you tell them your story with Jaleel?
Okay, I would be the annoying guy that Urkel knows by face, if not by name, because as soon as we heard that Jaleel was announced, or I think he spilled the beans himself, for Skeleton Crew, I'm like the first one at a GalaxyCon Raleigh to slide a little Skeleton Crew piece across the table. And he just kind of looks at me. It's like, where did you get this? And I may or may not have already had a signature from another Skeleton Crew cast member on it way pre-release. And he's just like, I don't know.
Can I sign this? Yeah.
I'll sign this. And he's like, what do you want on it? And I'm like, oh, just name and character name. And he looks at me, no.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not getting, no, I'll sign it, but you're not getting okay.
I had the same thing with the Amelia Clark when she was announced for that she was going to be in Marvel, and we were just having a signing with her, and somebody sent in a poster that they were getting all of the Marvel people and said, can you ask for character names? And I said, I can ask. I guarantee you she's going to say no, and that's exactly what happened because she couldn't spill the beans yet. So
yeah, but then I see him again at the next con, and I'm doing the same thing, and I'm like going up, and it's like, oh, hey, so we're signing some Skeleton Crew stuff now, and he's like, well, I'm not really even though I can't talk about that at all. I'm like, dude, your agent's got Skeleton Crew listed on your sign over there, and he's like, what? He's got what? It's like, look, okay, here we go.
Right.
Well, Carrie Ann Moss was the same way at Rhode Island 2 years ago.
Yes, that's right.
I was actually first in line for the thing. I passed her the thing. She's like, I did the same exact thing. I was like, she's like, do you want me to personalized or anything of that nature? I'm like, yeah, name and your character. She's like, I can't do that. I'm like, yeah, but would you have been wrong with you to at least ask? Come on.
Yeah, they all know the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good fun was had by all. Oh, looky there.
Oh, yeah.
I had to change clothes as we approach Narkina 5. I got my No Way Out gear, and this one happens to be signed by Andy. We were talking about Andy earlier.
There you go.
I was fortunate enough to do a screening with him with a Q&A at the Disney Studios.
And I'm assuming you're going to have Diego sign the other side then, right?
And so I got a photo and got him to sign this, and he just went to town.
Right.
It's like the biggest Andy Serkis autograph ever.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yes, it was very cool
met
experience.
You met some great people, obviously, going to a Harrison Ford and a Mark Hamill and some of that. Was there anybody that you were just like, I know you with celebrities all the time, that you were just like, wow, I'm in the presence of greatness, or like, this guy is amazing, or I can't believe this is my job?
The first time that I signed with Michael J. Fox, being that I grew up, family ties, Back to the Future,
Alex Keaton for sure. Yeah.
And even Spin City. I loved Spin City.
Oh yeah, that was a great show.
So the first time that I met him, it was in 2015, and I'll tell you a little story. So he was signing, and this is the early days of his Parkinson's, and he signed one, and he had a little bit of a hiccup or whatever. He's like, "Oh, I think I signed that one, Michael Jordan. Somebody's going to get a little rare one there." So, he is one of the most gracious people that I've ever met. And when you talk about somebody that's going through what he's had to go through, but has done so much for the research for Parkinson's and everything else, and for him just to have this air of positivity, and he still is like that. I mean, I can't tell you all the stories that I've seen, but he is still, just even this year when he was at MegaCon, I mean, he's just such a great guy. So the first time that I met him was probably the biggest, my inner kid came out at that point. But yeah, getting to meet Harrison Ford, the first time I signed with Arnold Schwarzenegger and some of these people, I mean, you're talking about Hollywood royalty for these guys, and you get to meet them and spend a little bit of time and interact with them and stuff. And yeah, like I said, you couldn't have told me 14-year-old
Galaxy Con Raleigh to meet the Shat, right?
many times.
So you just did a signing with somebody who I think would be the ultimate con signer. Any stories that you can tell about your signing with Samuel L. Jackson?
Sam doesn't play a character. Sam plays Sam. So when you see Sam in Shaft and you see Sam in Pulp Fiction and stuff like that, that's him. The MFers and all that stuff, that is him. He is that guy. Super nice guy. The first time we did a signing with him that he was doing character names, he's like, "Man, do I really have to write Mace Windu? Can't you guys do that after I leave?" I said, "No, it doesn't work that way." So he's and another guy that just you're in the presence of greatness. He was very fun to work with. I've signed with him 3 times now. He's been great.
So how many lightsabers? How many lightsabers did you have to get put B and an F on the bottom of the hilt?
None.
Oh.
Wow. To me, that would be like the first thing I would have done.
Yeah. The one thing that we talked about in the last signing with him was right after Guardians came out, and the first F word was not Sam Jackson, and he was upset about it. He was upset about it. He goes, "Chris Pratt got to say it, and I didn't."
Well, it's interesting because the thing was that he got snapped as he was saying it. So
right, exactly.
They teased it with him, but they gave it to Pratt.
Yep, and they gave it to Pratt. He was like, "Oh yeah," so he was. Yeah, it was fun. So.
Oh yeah, then he must have loved Deadpool Wolverine. It's like, oh, now they're just throwing it out there. Like,
right.
100+ times.
Well, yeah, I think he was a little bummed not to be able to do the first one in the MCU. But.
Yeah, and here we have Andor wearing your suit there, Jeff.
I think this has been I think one of the biggest fan go-tos since the running of the hoods. I mean, obviously that's one of the staples of Celebration, but for the Disney Plus era or the Disney era, I mean, if you were in London, the running of the prisoners,
The prisoners,
as well
yeah.
as people going cons and doing the running, doing on program, running around. We were at the O2 for an after party, and people were running around singing to like one of the bands, singing on program or One Way Out. I mean, it's become a battle cry for Star Wars fans, which has actually been kind of awesome that it was part of this show.
Yeah, I'm part of the group, the Star Wars or the Running of the Prisoners group. So there's a patch that they just posted about today that looks kind of fun. I think you saw that, Spencer.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Everybody.
Great for it. Yeah, we know it, Skip. They were not as so fond of this. It's like you weren't so fond of this show in general.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that he hates this part.
Oh yeah, Ray's got a great prisoner outfit as well.
Ray's is legit. This is the AliExpress,
you got the same
$30 one, but it works. It is not orange enough. I saw that immediately and was like, eh.
Yeah, that looks a little browner or something.
Yeah, it's like it's printed on. The ones that like the good ones are like actual bits that are sewn together.
Yeah.
Or iron on or whatever.
You got yours at what, Temu?
No, it was AliExpress. Yeah, so basically same thing.
So what people might also not know
is
that Torrey is quite the Disney file as well as like a lot of us. So how excited about you about going to like Seas, which has been told is the best Disney park in the world?
I tell you what, I went to Japan a couple of years ago because I had to make a mileage run to maintain my diamond status with Delta. And I almost did it at that point, and I'm glad that I did it because some of the newer attractions are supposed to be amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Daryl and I are going to be going to both Disney Seas and then also just regular Tokyo Disney. I mean, we're going to be there. You might as well do it. And I've got an annual pass down to Orlando, so I use that quite a bit. And this is going to be fun. So I purposely have tried to not look at any videos of the rides because I know they're all on there. I want to going into it with nothing. Kind of like the first time I went on Guardians, I had no idea. I knew the songs because everybody talked about it, but I didn't know anything about it. So that's what I'm trying to do with Japan.
Nice. So what did you think of what's going on right now? What they're building? When you first saw this, what did you think the things were?
What's that?
What they're building in Andor, what they're building on the show.
The prisoners are building.
Putting together. We had huge speculation here on the channel when it came out the first time as what all this stuff was. What were your initial thoughts?
I don't even remember what my initial thoughts were. I was
all over the board.
One of the problems that I have is I have ADHD. So when I sit down and watch something, there's a lot of times where I've got to go back right after the fact and watch it again. So it's just one of the curses. But I don't know if I actually, how people, you sit down and they ask questions. What are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? Yeah. I don't do that in my own head. So yeah, I don't know if I don't think I had any idea. So
you're just like they're it's prisoners. They're doing a thing. It's maybe it's
well. I think at first I thought they were making license plates, but
exactly.
I think I had a weird thought that they were doing some sort of busy work that was then like dismantled by other parts of the prison. And then they would put it back together, and then they would get dismantled. Like it was like vicious circle kind of thing, like exactly busy work, where they were just keeping
like a psychological type thing.
Yeah, it was just something for them to be doing, and actually didn't serve a real purpose. But then there was a lot more talk about, is this part of something? And then ultimately, we would get in the 12th episode. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, yeah, we had that discussion too. I think I remember you saying that as you're like, okay, they're putting it together here, and then the next week, like the night shift comes on in and takes them all apart or something.
Yeah, that was definitely something I had thought about, but was way off.
I think you've got the premise of some other type of movie in there, though. like a Gattaca.
Well,
or
that's probably
something.
No, right.
You need to put that treatise out or whatever.
The funny thing about it is that they have Cassian and they don't realize that they have the guy. Like,
Right,
it's like,
exactly.
how does he?
Well,
That's the thing with a lot of stuff like that, where they
don't
realize he's in
guy. And
Yeah.
in fairness, he's not as much of the guy yet.
Correct.
He's going to be more of the guy in season 2. He's
'Cause
not.
He's
kind of-
Clem here, isn't he?
Kind of like in Solo, you have no idea who you've got. You know,
Yes.
you have no idea that he's going to run. You know, yeah.
Yeah,
They're also like
the entire rebellion.
labeling him to begin with, where they think he's the alter, his alias versus thinking him as the person that they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. It's the fake ID. That is where he is.
That's it.
So, Torrey, you are arguably the expert on the subject. Okay. So, what is your personal favorite media to get signed? Like, Spencer is a Funko guy. I'm more of a toys person.
Yeah, action figures.
There are plenty of people that are 8x10s.
I'm a prop guy.
You're what?
Nice.
Prop.
Props.
So like legit props or replica props?
No, I don't have any like screen used props.
Okay.
Put it this way, if I did, I wouldn't get those signed.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
True.
But I've got at least 9 or 10 swords, Uma Thurman, Kit Harington, Arnold Schwarzenegger, getting one with Liv Tyler here pretty quick. So I've got those. I've got, all the stuff from Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've got a Stormbreaker and a Mjolnir.
Nice.
If you want to talk about my baby, it's my Captain America shield.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is because I was able to get Chadwick Boseman on it before he got away. And I don't know if there's more than 5 in the world, even if that many, that have him on that. So, it's not like people are bringing shields to, to places. He did 2 signings at San Diego Comic-Con, and I believe the second one, you couldn't bring your own item at all. And the first one, I don't know if anybody brought any shields. So,
Yeah, I saw a lot of people doing giant Marvel MCU cast pieces on shields, bringing them in for Jude Law at MegaCon.
Yep.
A lot of that.
Yeah. And that's something that I think is one of the things that people use us for a lot. If you're going to get an 8x10, and I'll be honest with that, is I'll tell people, like, we're not the cheapest person, but I'm not a guy that's just going and getting 15 items signed at a convention. So we've kind of made a name for ourselves with posters and props that are a little bit harder to handle. But when we do signings, most of ours is all back room or private signings, so we don't have to worry about stuff getting damaged going through the line. You can't take 10 shields through the line for somebody. So that's kind of why we've gotten known for those bigger items anyways. So, but yeah, I'm definitely, for me, I'm a prop guy. Obviously I started out as a comic book, collector when I was younger. But once I got into the signatures, I wanted to have something that not everybody was going to have. So
your range of props, is that like officially licensed or fan made or combination of things?
I don't have anything. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think one of the items, the Stormbreaker that I have, I do believe it is officially licensed, but I'm not sure. But most of the stuff are officially licensed. Like all the lightsabers are, most of those are the legacies. The swords are all from either Swords Direct or one of the big companies, and those are all licensed. My shield is EFX. Most of the helmets are the Black Series and things like that.
Yeah, you do a bunch of so you count Black Series helmets as part of the props too.
Yeah,
so that's probably like my secondary thing.
That's been very popular as of late.
Yeah, the one thing that has really taken off in the last 2 or 3 years, just because it's cheaper, is people doing the actual plaques instead of sending in the props. First of all, you don't have to send in a $500 lightsaber. You just send in the plaque. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper to get signed, because you're not, paying for bulky thing and the extra insurance and things like that. But me personally, I'd want to have it actually on the prop if possible. So there are some things that you can't, though, because they're just, it's hard to sign. So if there's something like a dragon egg for Amelia Clark, it's all jagged and stuff like that.
Right.
So in something like that, then you get the box or whatever. But yeah.
Well, there have been things. I may have been that guy who's sitting there stretching an Ewok cape in front of Warwick Davis, and he's just like, I don't know if I can. It's like, do your best, dude. It's like I've had this since 1983. It's like stretch.
Yep. Oh yeah, and that's and when it comes into that, that's where you get to things like people sent us a toilet seat for the first time we signed with Mel Gibson. You know, so those are
Danny Glover. Yeah.
So
amazing.
That's a good one.
I think I've gotten actually.
Was that the most unusual item you've had signed?
No, the most unusual item, and I don't think anybody is going to be able to beat this, is and I don't know why he did this, but somebody sent in an actual furnace filter. And maybe it's an inside joke that I just don't get, but a furnace filter for Robert De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah, a furnace filter.
I don't know.
I didn't get it either. And he's sitting here and goes, why the hell am I signing this? I'm like, the guy just sends in unusual stuff.
Maybe his whole collection is just oddball stuff signed by random celebrities.
Could be.
Well,
I do have a selection of odd things myself. Depending on where I was when I ran into somebody, usually it was the thing, because it wasn't like, oh, I took this item to an official signing event. It was like, I'm a fan of a band called Armored Saint, and the singer also sang for Anthrax for a while, if you're into heavy metal. Anyways, I was at a music convention and happened across him on the show floor, and the only thing I had on me, his last name is Bush, John Bush, but it's not spelled like Anheuser-Busch, but I happen to have an Anheuser-Busch, a Budweiser on me. And I was like, let me have you sign this Bush thing. And it's like the most random thing. I still have it like sitting right over here is a can of Budweiser with his autograph on it. So an unopened can, which I probably should do something about, because the likelihood is that the aluminum will be breached soon. So, but you know, I've run into, like I posted the other day, memory from Facebook where I had gone to a Paley Fest event here in Hollywood, and it was the Better Call Saul, and I was able to get Bob Odenkirk to autograph something, and the only thing I had with me, because I don't think about it before I go, was the ticket for the event. So I have I have a lot of that where I would run into somebody at an event and just have them sign a ticket or whatever. So, but you know, the beer is the weirdest one. You know, I have all kinds of oddball things like that.
Yeah, my first autograph, I think I was 9 years old, and I got Mike Didka's signature on a napkin because he was at the Valley Hotel in Appleton, Wisconsin. And I happened to be walking by as they were getting off the bus to go in there. So I ran inside, and I was like, oh, my dad, look at. So we went inside, and they were standing there, and people had like little pieces of paper. I had nothing, so I went up and I got that. So
something. It's similarly when I was young. I grew up here in LA area, and where I actually grew up, there was a lot of shooting of TV shows and movies around my neighborhood very frequently, and I had a little random notepad that I got Steve Martin to sign, which I still have somewhere. And, you know, would run into people at things like, you know, a restaurant or something as well and get napkins. I remember people having dollar bills to get signed because that was the only thing they had on them, you know, weird things like that. So
I got a question. When you guys watched this the first time, and this is something that it did strike me, is the jail that they're in, this prison. It's, first of all, it's like, it looks great. Like that's the type of prison that I want to be in. Yet you can look into the next one. I'm like, talk about no privacy when you got to go to the bathroom. You know?
Oh, right. Yeah, those
they're
cells.
not cells. It's like, geez, these guys have it made.
Well, the idea is that the floor is electrocuted at that point, so that like you'd probably be going to the bathroom while people can't walk around. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who knows?
One of the things I find hilarious about the science, because like a lot of my 8x10s, I love to get a quote on, and I try to push the envelope a little bit and get a monologue if I can get it. But obviously, people are starting to tier now, which is
with the extra
interesting in that capacity. It was like, premium, now it's premium bulky, or adding another layer. Then the quotes. I mean, I know it's more time stuff. I love seeing the new actors who have not caught on to that yet, because they're just jumping on the. Alan Rook is now starting to get on the circuit a little bit more, and someone up in Massachusetts last week got the whole, he'll keep calling me, he keep calling me. Okay, I'll go, fuck, I'll go, from Barry Fuhrer, and wrote the whole monologue out there. I mean,
wow.
What's your thoughts about the whole tiering thing? I mean, it's kind of, I get it, but it's like,
so it's hard because I can see both sides of it. When you're talking about a regular convention guest, sometimes it's just that they charge a little bit more for a Funko because they know that there's some resale value or whatever. And if you're charging an extra 10 or 20 bucks, that's one thing. I think some of these, especially on the bigger guests, it has to do with the fact that, the money that they command to do a signing, it's not nothing. And this kind of helps to hit those guarantees so that a show will bring in somebody of that nature. So personally, I'm not a big fan of it as a collector, because I'm like, look, if you're just signing your name, what does it matter if it's on a 8x10 or if it's on a Funko or if it's on a poster? Doesn't really matter. But, I look at it from the agent standpoint of it, or the actual convention standpoint of it. And if a convention is paying somebody $250,000 to come in for a weekend, it's going to help them hit that a little bit easier. So, and then you have the people that are like, well, these people wouldn't have, a job if it wasn't for us fans. And I don't really agree with that, because look, these are actors. What they owe it to us is they owe it to us for a good performance. If they're a good actor, you're going to go see them. If they're not, you're not going to go see them. That's what they owe us.
Right.
And if they want to do charity, like a lot of the Marvel actors will go to, children's hospitals, in costume and everything like that. That's great. But to say that they, owe a fanboy or a fangirl an autograph, I don't really agree with that. So to get back to your question, it's a double-edged sword. So if you're a smaller guest, and I don't really agree with that. But yeah, for Alan to do something like that, if you think about it, if you're at a convention and you don't have a big line and you can do it, why not?
Yeah.
You're at a convention, you got 500 people behind you. At some point, you gotta.
Yeah, it's a different mindset.
Well, and I think it's not so much that it's having a tier for something else, but that tiering might be getting out of control.
Yes, and that I can understand.
For
how many tiers do you need?
One price, but a poster is different than an 8x10. It's like, no, a poster is exactly the same thing as signing an 8x10. But it's a poster
requires
16 by 20, but if it's bigger than 16 by 20, that's even more.
Right. Well, before his passing, you had Carl Weathers, who would sign an 8x10 and a poster for the same price because they were flat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so wait a second. But yet if I brought a comic book or a Funko, it went from $80 to $300. And that was a little bit, I'm like, I don't know about that. Especially that you could have brought in an original Rocky poster already signed by Stallone. And you're telling me that you're going to do that for $80, but yet a Funko is $300?
Well, Carl was one of the ones that's famous for, as soon as you put a pair of shorts in front of him, that's a
boxing gloves
upcharge.
Yeah, it was anything that was not flat. So an 8x10, like a plaque or a poster, if it was literally flat, it was $80. Anything else, baseball $300, boxing gloves $300.
Right.
If you want to go 80 and 120, okay.
Yeah, it's a weird jump.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. I actually am surprised it took actors this long to do it, because it's been like that for athletes for years. You go to an athlete signing and here's your name, and then these are the inscriptions. Hall of Fame 2020 is X amount, and Purple People Eaters is this, and whatever it is. So yeah, I saw it coming, and I wish it hadn't, but it's here.
Oh, it's like you see Corbin Burnson, and he'll charge $50 just to put in strike this MF or out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just that one quote.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and then some of them are, it's every six words is $20. So if you have, may the force be with you, is this, but then if it's the
D. Bradley Baker, I ended up spending $80 on him for 8 words as opposed to 6.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. And then every character name, because realize, that every one of the Bad Batch, that's a different name. So
every clone trooper in any animated series.
And he charged not only by that, but like I got this in Rhode Island, he charged for multiple colors. So if you want one color, it's one price. Well, and then 2 and 3, it was another.
And again, that's the thing is, some of the collectors have gone overboard. I want the name in this. I want so 2 Matt is in red. The signature is yellow, and the character name is green.
Oh wow!
Purple.
That's a little overboard.
Hey, the problem is that a lot of the voice actors started doing that, and then everybody wants you to do that. Okay, well, with a minor person maybe, but Jude Law, no, he ain't doing that. He's going to do it in one color. So for D. Bradley Baker, maybe it's like, look, if you really want to have something, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make it a little bit more inconvenient for you, so less people do it. So I kind of see both sides, but
right.
What's your thoughts on people upcharging for Star Wars? Like, perfect example, Katie Sackhoff. You go get some for Starbucks or from The Flash, she's one price, but then she jumps up like $40 just on Star Wars stuff.
I don't think it's on photos, though. I think it's only on Star Wars merchandise, so like a Darksaber or something like that.
Yeah, it's not for the 8x10 she has at her tables. There's not.
Okay, correct. Yeah, and I don't even think it is for like posters. I think it's just merchandise. So comic books, trading cards, maybe Funko Pops. I don't know everybody's tiers and stuff, but again, it's hard to. I get both sides of it. I get it doesn't take any longer. Yeah, realistically, there's a lot of people that I think that they are looking at eBay and they're like, well, wait a second, my stuff sells for X amount on eBay. Why am I not getting a cut of that?
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Sherry is watching the episode sentencing Belle is a rich girl running from her family. First clue that Belle is more than what we've seen. I think all the characters in this show, they all have so much backstory and so much richness that we haven't seen. There's so much more going on.
Well, that's one of the beauties of the Star Wars universe, is that there's so much complexity to each character, and that's I think what we like about it. You look at Han Solo, right? You look at Han Solo and you think he's this gruff, scruffy
looking nerve.
Yeah, but yet when Leia says "I love you," what does he say? Right? We all know the lines, but yet he said no. He originally was going to be "I love you too," and he goes, "He wouldn't say that."
Right, exactly. That was great that Harrison knew the character enough to make that, and then how iconic that actually is.
Well, that was one thing I actually loved. I mean, there's certain aspects of like the sequel trilogy. Like I thought the character and Adam Driver did justice of the tormention of Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. It was a deeper character that you could actually see a character study being done, and he did a masterclass. And say what you want about the sequel, but he was a standout because his arc was like so rich. It was, I thought, richer than any other character, including the main 3.
Well, and the thing about go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say is that when you take a look at Ben Solo, when you have somebody that's growing up with all of these external forces on him. Think about what happens to teenagers in today's society, right? When you're dealing with the force and everything else, you got that to the nth degree. And, you know, the amount of stuff that he had to go through. I mean, you knew he was going to be troubled. You know, you just knew that. He was just, I think that was a great character. And, you know, hey, look, I think there was people that said, oh, the prequels sucked, but yet, you know, 20 years later, look at Hayden Christensen, man. I tell you what, that guy is the most popular person, you know, and because what? That's when people were growing up with that. That's their
formative years, right?
So you're going to see that same thing with the sequels. Maybe somebody didn't like it the best. I don't know. I'll sit down and watch them. I think they're great. You know, they're great stories. Are they the original? Well, no. That's what I grew up on. No, you're never going to undo that. You're never going to catch lightning in a bottle, you know, every time.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
a one of a one time thing.
What
So
was
I
it?
think
What was
I have
that Lucas
solved-
said is I brought something for you guys that was new and exciting. And then when I tried to do that with the prequels, you guys bashed me for it, you know? So,
Oh, completely. All right, I think I've solved
So-
the mystery for you. I've been down the rabbit hole over here in Google. So in 1985, Robert De Niro played a character called Harry Tuttle in a movie called Brazil, where he plays a renegade heating and air expert on a mission to repair heating and cooling systems against the wishes of the government's central services.
Oh wow!
That
What
was a
year was
Terry,
that?
that was a Terry Gilliam movie.
1985.
Wow.
Brazil was
So
a great
deep
movie.
into his career.
Yeah, it's dystopian science fiction black comedy directed by Terry Gilliam, written by Gilliam.
Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
Stars
Great
Jonathan
movie.
Price, Robert De Niro, Kim Christ, Michael Palin,
Nice.
Catherine Hellman, Bob Hoskins, and Ian Holm.
So wait a second, Spencer. You just said it's a great movie and you didn't get that before Dave did?
I had not,
You had to have that refresher.
Honestly, I have not watched it in probably 20 years, and I'm the sound, like the theme song is stuck in my head now because of that. I remember when he eventually was like Brazil. I'm like, okay, now it clicks. Okay, yes, now got it.
That's got to be it, because otherwise there's no other explanation.
Yes.
So, kudos, Dave. I appreciate that.
Dave did the actual research where normally we let the people in the chat.
That's right. But that's cool. That's down the rabbit hole, and that's commitment to send in your filter for a little known 1985 movie. I like that. I respect that.
Dave gets, like we mentioned, unusual stuff. We were talking about that shot that you got a fawn. Dave, do you have your thing you're getting fawn to sign within your?
No, it's packed up, but I have the smallest possible collectible. The only Mouser Mecha Catbot merch that I can find in the world is they did BattleBots like Happy Meal toys or something.
Oh wow!
And it's like the size of a challenge coin.
Okay, I got you beat. I had somebody send in a Lego cape.
Oh geez.
Lego cape for Sam Jackson.
A minifigure
Sam
cape?
Jackson signed Samuel L. Jackson, and he signed a Lego cape from a Lego of Mace Windu.
Nice.
Wow.
I mean, that thing is the size of a dime.
That's slightly smaller than what I'm talking about.
His signature is not
literally Mouser is this big around, but it's
Yeah.
slightly 3D, so it's maybe that deep.
Yeah.
But
that was one of the things where Sam goes, "How the F am I going to sign this?"
I can hear him saying
He did,
that.
and it looked good because I have a special a pen that we use for certain signings, and it's like a Stadler type, but it's actually a silver
0.01
Yeah,
millimeter.
but it's a silver paint pen. Yeah, and it looked great.
Nice.
That's
I
cool.
just had 100 million
So,
credits.
is there a particular brand that you think is better than the other when it comes to?
Pen wise.
So, is there a kind of pen you would think is like a paint pen is better than the next?
No, they all have their pluses and their pros and cons. Personally, what we use is a lot of Eddings. They're a brand over in the UK, especially silver and black. We use Deco, we use Sharpie paint pen, we use Molitor. realistically, it's up to the fan and what they want. The one thing that we always tell people is like, look, if you're sending in an item and you're asking for a specific pen, we're going to do that, but you better know that it's going to work, because once I put it in front of them, if it doesn't work, there's nothing I can do. There's certain comic books that they're very highly UV coated that paint pens won't stick on them. It kind of looks like a bubble. Black and blue will work, but silver and gold kind of don't. So people have to know a little bit about what they're sending in. And when you go back to what you were asking about, if you've never done something before, if you buy something online, I tell people, look, buy 2 of them, because number one is you can test something and see, does this color look good? And does this pen type look good? Does this color look better here? Is it better in blue or better in black or better in yellow or whatever? And maybe you try something with a paint pen and it just doesn't stick well. Well, then that you might have to use Sharpie. So, yeah. But
do you have a preference when you get things signed? Depends
on the medium. Okay. So generally speaking, for props, I use paint pens on most of them. For most comic books, then like in my collection, I use Sharpies. But it depends, because obviously if you want yellow on something, you ain't going to buy a yellow Sharpie, Sharpie paint pen. But for me personally, if it comes to silver Eddings, hand down, looks to be the best. The other thing about silver Eddings is there's a lot of people that used to like the Prismacolor, the silver Prismas, and those leak a lot, especially, the thicker ones. Eddings, we've never really had that problem. So that's one of the reasons that we like to use that. But
would you suggest, like, if you have a ideal pen type, to get a fresh one for every kind of autograph if you're sending along a pen?
You can, but here's the thing. Let's say that we're sitting down and we're having a signing with Harrison Ford, and I've got 100.
Oh yeah, you don't want it. It's got to be primed, right? So.
Well, it's got to be primed, right? But if I've got 100 red paint pens, I can't switch out every single item. Well, this guy wants his red. Now he wants his red. Now he wants his red. Now, sometimes you have to just say, okay, we're going to do all the Sharpies with this, because if I have 5 people sending me a brand new red, Sharpie paint pen, I'm going to use one of them.
Right.
But
it'll be close enough.
If there's a specific color that you need it done in, that's not usual. So your blacks, yellows, reds, blues, we're going to have that. But I had somebody once that sent me a brown paint pen. I've never used brown before. So if you have an unusual color, you can always send your own, and we'll use that.
That makes sense.
The other thing is that
I used to love them.
Go ahead.
I'll say I used to love Recollections. I would pick up at Michael's. I thought those were a great pen. And the Artist Lofts don't hold a candle to it. I know a lot of people say that. I've not been able to find a pen that's been like Recollection, because Recollection's been sharp and better than Sharpie, I thought, when I was getting my stuff signed.
So there is a pen that looks similar to that, and you can buy them from Uline. So you can get a silver Uline pen. The one thing is that they take a little bit longer to dry than a Recollections or a silver Sharpie would, but it has more of a look of the old Recollections. So that's what I think some people are starting to use. So yeah, the problem with silver Sharpies is that you can buy a brand new pack and half of them are dead. I don't know what happened, but about 5 years ago, they must have changed the solvent, and they've just been garbage since then.
But
and
for
one
whatever
of the
reason,
is,
like the other colors, like the bronzes, are still fine.
Bronzes are still fine. Gold are fine as long as it's not humid. If it's humid, they don't work. But for silver, here's the other thing is, and this is what people are like, oh, you used a dead pen, or you didn't prime a pen, or whatever. And one of the things, especially with silver Sharpies, is you could take one out and it could be completely dead. You take another one out and you test it. Oh yeah, this looks good. And then it craps out after 2 signatures. Unless you can tell the future and you know what's going to happen, there's no way to know when something's going to run out like that. So,
and there's the episode.
And I mean, everybody has their own preference and things, and thinks they know what's going to look the best for them. I think one of the the few things about my interaction with Mel Gibson at MegaCon was I got a little bit longer of an interaction because he bitched about me using my pen.
Oh God, yeah. He likes stuff his way, and if a pen looks a little, I'll throw that one away. I don't know.
Well, he was just like, no, it's gonna this poster. I like to sign this poster in silver Sharpie. It looks better, and I'm like, yes, but Danny signed it in this marker a year ago, and I want him to match.
Right.
It's like,
well, here's the thing. I had this interaction with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I use this as an example. We were signing with him, and we had a Terminator poster, and the guy wanted silver on it. And Arnold says, I'm going to use red on it. And I'm like, well, no, the guy really wants silver. And he goes, it's going to look better. And he just picked up a red and started. Now, it looked good, but we all have had those kind of interactions. Anthony Daniels is another one. You go up to Anthony Daniels, and I want this sign in silver. No, I don't sign that one in silver. I sign that in gold. Can I do it in silver? Do you want it signed or do you not want it signed? Hey, so there's some times where people are like, I'm paying this person. They're going to do it the way I want it. That's not how human beings work. I can't grab, somebody's arm and say, no, you can't do that. I mean,
it's just going to happen.
Sometimes where people just don't understand that interactions are still with human beings. They're not robots, and
right. I tend to keep
getting back to your pen thing. One of the things I'll tell you is that there are certain people where they'll send a pen already primed, and if anybody knows if it's a Sharpie brand paint pen, you can't do that. After about 4 days, it's garbage. Those have to be brand new, or they just don't work. Decos are different; they'll last for years if you properly store them. So.
Yeah, it's all of a different thing. Is I've had different actors ask me about like brands of pens and things, and I'm like, what I use them for doesn't compare to what you use them for, because you're going to sign 100 things.
Just
I'm having
consistent.
you sign it, and I'll have, maybe if I see you again in a con in another year, I might have you use the same thing.
Right.
Mine, does it fly well? Who knows? The pressure, the altitude, or the change, or how you do is who knows?
Salt Lake City, Montana, you cannot take a pen that you've already primed, because if you press down on it, the ink will all run out of it. So what you have to do, and here's just a little FYI for everybody, if you ever have a sign in there, they have to be brand new, take off the top, and then basically just press down on the nib about 15, 20 times. You have to equalize the pressure. Then you let it sit there for a little bit. Don't start priming it right away. Just let it sit for about 10 minutes. And then you go to prime it. Because otherwise what happens is this thing was made, who knows, but if it was made somewhere and sea level, and now it's up there, there's a difference in pressure, and that can cause, leaks. So, I've seen a lot of people at Salt Lake City
hold it upside down and try and do it is actually like equalize the pressure.
That's to get the air out, basically. Right? I tend to keep at least a black Sharpie in my pocket just in case I run across somebody randomly, which does happen on occasion. And I also keep a silver one currently. And I had those at a event I went to a couple weeks ago. And so there was a local radio personality, a comedian that was at that event. So I got him to sign in silver Sharpie, which you can barely see on here. You can see like the A, or actually it's supposed to be an F, looks like an A, of his name. And then I was like, okay, well, if anybody else signs this, they're not using that silver Sharpie because it looks like crap on this item. And then I actually happened across Corey Feldman at the same event and got him to sign in black Sharpie, which ultimately worked the better of the two. So,
Did he ask you to
knowing what you have? You have to know what you have
exactly.
Medium, and ultimately you tested it out. Just
it was inadvertently I tested it out as opposed to like thinking about it in advance, like you had mentioned.
Yeah.
So, is there anybody that you like on your bucket list of people that you want to get things signed or want to have a signing with, of people that have not done anything yet?
I mean, it's probably the same names as everybody. Everybody wants Keanu Reeves. Everybody wants Jeff Bridges. Everybody wants Kurt Russell. So realistically, if somebody's a big enough name, everybody wants them, and hopefully at some point. I think that when the pandemic happened, you had people that were basically sitting around doing nothing, and it brought out some people that people thought would never do a signing.
Right.
Right.
So I think that was kind of gave a little bit of a jolt to the private signing business.
Definitely.
But yet, whoever thought Mel Gibson would have done a convention? And he did,
that's why I had Danny signing a crap marker, because I never thought in my life, I thought this is going to be Danny Glover because he's sitting over there by himself at a con that I happen to be at. Oh, it was the thing. Never did I think.
Yeah.
You're going to complete that piece.
Yep. So,
I mean,
it's definitely changed, and it's becoming more and more of a regular thing. So we're seeing more and more names. So yeah.
It's intriguing because, when you talk about COVID, I wanted to talk about this earlier, is that obviously it was all pretty much private signings. And that was, a lot of stuff when I initially got started with you on that was with, COVID and the people not knowing what was going on with that. When you announced the Ford signing, like, I didn't even think twice about it, because I was like, he's up there in age. God forbid something else. I bought this piece purposely at Celebration Chicago to get signed. This might be my only opportunity to get that. So, it was an interesting time for that, because, I think there's a lot of pieces were signed over that, that span of, of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. There's names out there, like when we did the Robert De Niro signing, nobody ever thought Robert De Niro would do a sit down signing. I think people thought that probably, Sam Jackson wouldn't do it. And people thought that, Sam's done a number of them, and stuff. So it's definitely changed. And we are seeing more and more names, just as I think it's become more mainstream. But it's no different than Comic-Cons. Comic-Cons, like you said, used to be the Trekkies, and everybody used to Trekkers. People used to, make fun of them and everything else. But now it's become, a mainstream, where they're no longer Comic-Cons, they're pop culture cons. And
it's big, well beyond that for sure at this point.
They're like Hallmark cons. There are cons for
everything has a con now.
You got 90s con. You've got
any kind of niche, they will jump on the con aspect.
I want to get back to something that you guys said earlier about things making a resurgence. There was a convention called VCon. Gary Vaynerchuk put it on, and I saw a panel, and it was I think it was Gareb Shamus from Wizard. It was the guy who invented Squishmallows, and I think it was somebody from Fanatics. And one of the guys said what they do is when they start looking at trends, they say, what was big with teenagers 20 years ago? Why? Because now those people have disposable income.
Right. Yeah, that
part
transition.
Of the reason that we see some things become resurgence is because people realize that there's money to be made. So,
everybody with
I jumped in a Funko bandwagon heavy because my parents threw out my Kenner toys and I couldn't afford them again. So I was like, well, the next thing I couldn't get a blue Snaggletooth figure, but hey, I got a blue Funko. That's how it really went for me. It was like,
for the record, you can get your Kenner toys back there, right?
Dave's done quite a bit of that. Yeah, well, he's been pretty lucky at that. But the only one I ever replaced was Greedo. I don't know why I lost Greedo, but
so I'm going to give a little bit of a teaser right now. I'm not going to announce it, but keep an eye out this weekend on the Virtual Cantina Network, having to do with Kenner. That's all I have to say.
Segue.
If you know what's back there,
yeah,
that's a little bit of a hint.
And all I can say is don't bring an original backing. That's all.
Don't.
So, but anyway. Once again, Torrey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's a great open format. I know the last time we had you on was actually during COVID. We actually watched Revenge of the Sith when we were all looking for things to do when we first kicked off, and now we're 73,000 members and climbing, which is ridiculous. But love everything we do with you. We're so happy that you're going to be joining us in Japan for the Naso.
If anybody has questions, it doesn't even have to be to deal with Star Wars Celebration. If you're looking at a convention and that you're like, hey, I want to send something in, it doesn't even have to be through us, and they have questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can go to TwinCitiesComics.com. There's a contact us page and reach out to us. I mean, part of my job, realistically, is to teach people, because if I can teach somebody how to do something the right way, they're going to be like, oh, thank you. And then it becomes easier for them each time they do it. And if it's easier for them, it's easier for me.
Nice.
So these tips are great, especially even if you don't ever do a cosign and you end up going to cons and you've got multiple items. This is pearls of wisdom. I mean, Dave is, in Anaheim, he brought a bucket with him and he trash bagged it into his backpack, just to keep it safe. And it's just these tips that we're learning as we go. It's making it easier and more convenient and safer for our items to transport back and forth, even from the West Coast, East Coast, even to Japan.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing about paint pens at altitude, I learned that in, I think it was Denver, back when it was Denver Comic-Con, because I was having a signing with somebody and people kept complaining about that. And it was Kevin Eastman, the artist from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's the one that told me, because he uses paint pens when he does all the coloring of like little heads.
Oh, right.
So those are the type of things that I can't tell you how many times I've seen a person that they're new and they go to Salt Lake City Comic-Con or they go to Denver or something like that, and they bring their own pen and, oh, well, I tested at home, it's going to work. And then you go to
Nope.
So those are the type of things that, hey, this is a small community. It's a small hobby. So, hey, be nice to everybody, teach everybody. I'd rather somebody learn something from a mistake that somebody else made that can teach everybody else so nobody else makes that mistake.
Nice.
I mean, some of the things that I even have, just because, being a signer for so long, not only do I bring all my pens, but I bring, extra top loaders. I have my iToy with me. I have Post-it notes. I have painter's tape in my bag, like everything I could possibly need to make the signings that much easier for the guests, because they're assembly lines a lot of the time.
Yeah. Realize this is that you are going up and you have one item to deal with. Okay. So you can take that item and you can be very specific and everything else, but that person you're putting in front of it has seen 85 different things, in the last 2 minutes. Maybe they saw 5 of the same thing of yours, and everybody else wanted it signed in the upper left and you want it signed in the lower right. Yes. Hey, make it very, very easy. You want to make sure that it's foolproof, that somebody can look at your item and within a split second say, I know exactly what this person wants. Because if you leave it up to somebody else and you don't like the result, then that's kind of on you. Yeah. Whereas if you say, very specific, this is the way that I want it, it makes it easier for everybody.
I saw that actually at Rhode Island, because I got my hoverboard signed by Michael and from Chris Lloyd. And a lot of people were getting it on the back side on those 2 round parts right there. I got on the front, and I was having a conversation with somebody in front of me. They're like, well, it's a perfect spot. I'm like, yes, but if you look on the back, you got the copyright information, and you're not going to
display as well.
It's not, you're not going to hang
exactly.
Back. You're going to want to.
I don't want to see the back. I don't want to see the back of a hoverboard.
Yeah, that's not the part you're going to use either, right?
Yeah.
And especially
that'd be like getting a toy car sign on the bottom.
yeah, exactly. I have a skateboard deck that I got from a radio station that's signed by the band Korn. But of course, all the autographs are on the front, so that's the ideal.
Well, but usually that's because on a skateboard deck, that's where the art is.
Exactly, that's why it's a Korn board signed by Korn. So having them sign on the back would have been absurd. Although it could be sometimes there's back art as well, but branding for the
item, yeah.
Exactly. So every item is different ultimately.
Every item is different.
And what you like might not be what I like.
Right. Well. I didn't have any choice in that one, so I'll take it.
I'm unusual. I like the top of the Funko sign. I know, people are going crazy on that. Like Dave.
Okay, wait. But Spencer, we have one customer, super nice guy. Actually, he flagged me down at a convention because he saw me, and he gets the actual Funko signed, and he gets it on the back of the head. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. So
does he display them
in there? And he actually has the Funko sign. I don't know anybody else who does that. I'm sure there are people, but yeah.
Yeah, to each his own.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you're saying it's interesting, but it's fun. It's also a conversational piece all the time about what you're doing, how you get the things signed. But anyway, once again, Torrey, thank you so much for joining us, and we're very much looking forward to seeing you at the Not So Virtual Cantina with us on the 17th of April in Japan.
Drinks are on me.
Coming up soon.
Wait, they're included, right?
Oh wait, somebody, they're on somebody. Anyways,
right. Well, I appreciate the time, guys.
It's been great.
Wait a minute, it's open bar. Wait a minute, you don't drink.
I know, that's why.
No, we really appreciate that. So, Dave, anything going on in the network?
There's always stuff going on in the network, Spencer. There's so many things going on in the network. You can join us this weekend. We are going to have another episode of the Jedi Archives. They are talking about, I think it's the High Republic series, a wedding extravaganza or something like that. Comic.
Yeah, Mike mentioned that. He said that one of the authors actually retweeted his.
Oh yeah, that was the retweet from Older. I think it was Older.
Yes, I believe that was his name. Yes, I'm not that familiar.
So
but that's very cool.
Super cool. But then again, we've got coming up on Monday on Clone Wars Revisited. I think it's finally time for the micro series. I love
the micro series. That's my
Samuel
favorite.
L. Jackson just going ham.
So tune in, Torrey. You need to tune in for that.
Well, for 3-minute episodes, I'm sure that I can.
Well, they're not going to do single episodes per show. It's not going to be like this one. Yeah. So they're going to watch a good majority, I think, if not all of the episodes, at least. So they tie together very well as well. So it's a different experience, but it's some amazing sort of filler, like the full show has done, where there's things that they address that you didn't see.
Well, and there's really cool stuff that happens in the micro series that doesn't happen elsewhere in Clone Wars. It was the template for it,
right? And the animation is amazing. Gendy Tartakovsky, Samurai Jack is, top tier. So that whole connection is amazing. The style is very much like
I really loved the Bad Batch and stuff. So if it's similar to Clone Wars and Bad Batch, I'm sure
the idea is similar to Clone Wars and Bad Batch, but it's done a little bit differently.
It is its own thing.
Yeah.
It is.
But anyway, you
can, of course, join us on the Zoom on Tuesday nights as well, and next Wednesday before the next Thursday watch along with us again is going to be another episode of Daughters of the Galaxy, and they are doing Andor as well. They're talking about the women of Andor, and they're doing Women of Andor Part 2. It's so much to talk about. Like we talked about the richness of these characters, that they've had to break this into 2, possibly 3, who knows how many parts that they're going to be on just the Women of Andor. So join us, join them.
Yep. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we are your location for all things Star Wars Celebration. Make sure that you ring that bell, subscribe, like our videos, share our videos, like us on the Facebook page with 73,000 members. And remember that a lot of times we're posting up on our Facebook page before they update their own website. We learned that tonight. So just keep that in mind. Tune into our page. We have a reputation for that for a reason. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. From Dave, from Jeff, and Torrey, this is Spencer saying, on program.
May the force be with you.
Where are we at? Oop.